Helena Foster stood in her quiet living room, one hand resting on the box of ornaments she and her husband had opened every December for 27 years. The air smelled faintly of pine from the artificial tree she had unfolded alone that afternoon. Outside, Christmas lights from the neighbors' houses blinked softly through the window. Inside, everything felt dimmer, muted, heavier. It was her first Christmas without him, and the silence was deafening. She placed the first ornament on a branch, a small glass snowflake he had bought on their honeymoon in Aspen. It trembled slightly when she let go, as if remembering to. Helena took a slow breath, willing herself not to cry. She wanted to honor their traditions, even if her heart felt too fractured to glow. Christmas had always been their season, their private world of lights, music, and warmth. Now, the room echoed only with her movements and the faint hum of distant carols from a neighbor's yard. She reached for another ornament, a red globe with their initials painted in gold, and her fingers froze mid-air. Too much, too soon. She set it back and stepped away, afraid that touching it would break her completely. The tree seemed luminous and lifeless at the same time. Helena sank into the couch, hugging her arms around her body, as if they could offer the comfort no one else could. The house felt too large for just one person now. She could hear the clock ticking in the hallway, each second a reminder of the life that kept moving without asking if she was ready. She wasn't, but she had promised herself to try. Outside, snow began to fall gently, decorating the street with a soft white veil. The world looked peaceful, but inside her chest, everything was still chaos. She stared at the tree, its lights reflecting faintly on the window pane. They glimmered, but they didn't warm. Not yet. She wondered if this Christmas would be something she would endure, rather than celebrate. She whispered his name, just once, just enough to release the tightness in her throat. The name drifted into the air, like a memory looking for a place to land. She wiped her eyes and straightened her back, trying to remind herself she wasn't completely broken. She was here. She was breathing. She had made it through the year somehow. The tree stood nearly finished, waiting for the ornaments she couldn't touch yet. Helena folded the empty cardboard box, placed it aside, and turned off the lights. Only the faint glow of the Christmas tree remained, shimmering quietly in the dark. It wasn't the same glow it used to be, but it was something, a small flicker, in an otherwise shadowed December. The next morning, Helena woke early to the soft glow of holiday lights filtering through her curtains. The world outside was wrapped in Christmas spirit wreaths, garlands, twinkling rooftops, but she couldn't feel any of it. She wrapped her robe around herself and walked to the kitchen, where silence waited like a familiar companion. Even the coffee machine sounded too loud. She tried to push herself into routine, hoping Stretcher could keep her steady. Coffee, toast, water, the poinsettias she bought out of habit, not desire. But everything reminded her of winters when her husband would play Christmas music at full volume, dancing around the kitchen just to make her laugh. Now, pressing play felt like betrayal. She stepped into the living room and saw the half-decorated tree. Its untouched ornaments seemed to stare back at her, waiting. But she couldn't bring herself to finish. Her heart tightened at every memory attached to each decoration. She wanted to skip Christmas entirely, fast forward to January, to something neutral and numb. But the world didn't pause for grief. Grocery stores played carols. Streets hung lights over every sidewalk. Neighbors built snowmen with scarves and Santa hats. She felt out of place, as if everyone else had been invited to a celebration she no longer belonged to. The season that once filled her with joy now felt like an overwhelming reminder of everything missing. Still, she tried. She lit a holiday-scented candle, cinnamon, vanilla, a hint of pine, hoping it might spark something inside her. Instead, it only reminded her of the Christmases she used to bake gingerbread cookies with him, laughing as they decorated the kitchen more than the cookies. She blew out the candle quickly, unable to handle the flood of emotion. Helena wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and stood by the window, watching snowflakes drift past the warm glow of Christmas lights outside. She felt suspended between two worlds, one filled with holiday magic, and another filled with quiet grief. She didn't know how to cross the bridge between them. She touched the cold window pane, her breath fogging the glass as she whispered, "I'm trying. I really am." The Christmas lights blinked softly in response, as if encouraging her. She didn't feel ready to move forward, but a tiny part of her, the part that still believed in small miracles, hoped something might change. Helena walked into her small home office, searching for a receipt she needed to file away. Instead, she found a bright orange folder labeled puppy papers. She froze, the memory washing over her immediately. Not forgotten, only tucked away, waiting. She opened the folder with trembling fingers, revealing the adoption documents for a golden retriever puppy. Months earlier, during a shaky but hopeful afternoon, she had visited a reputable kennel. The puppies had just been born, tiny and warm, their eyes still closed. Something in her heart had stirred, a fragile spark of life, and she had made the decision to reserve one. She remembered every detail, the softness of their fur, the small heartbeat she felt when she held one gently, the sudden urge to heal. She had asked the breeders to contact her only when the puppy was fully ready, after the full weaning period and all the necessary vaccinations. She wanted the little one to arrive healthy, strong, and at the right time. She never forgot about him. She simply didn't know when he would come, and grief had made it hard to imagine the future. Now, looking at the folder, Helena felt something shift inside her chest, a mixture of surprise, tenderness, and fear. She ran her fingers over the small printed photo of the puppy at 1 week old. He was so tiny then, curled like a warm promise. She felt her throat tighten with emotion she hadn't allowed herself to feel in months. She remembered leaving the kennel that day with tears in her eyes, believing, maybe, just maybe, she could find joy again someday. The puppy had been her secret act of hope, a quiet declaration that she wasn't completely defeated. Seeing the folder now reminded her of the woman she had been in that moment, hurting, yes, but still brave enough to choose life. Closing the folder gently, Helena pressed it against her chest. The memory didn't bring pain, it brought something else, something softer. She hadn't abandoned this decision. She hadn't forgotten it. Life had simply been heavy, and she had been waiting for the day when hope would knock on her door. Little did she know, that day was closer than she imagined. Much closer. In fact, it was already on its way through snow-covered roads, wrapped in fur the color of warm honey. It was early evening, the sky a deep winter blue, when Helena turned on the Christmas lights in her living room. Soft golden reflections shimmered across the ornaments, adding warmth to the quiet space. She sat on the couch with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, the gentle hum of holiday music playing from the TV. For the first time in weeks, the room felt almost peaceful. She sipped hot chocolate slowly, letting the sweetness melt on her tongue. Outside, snowflakes drifted past the glowing holiday lights on her porch. She wasn't exactly joyful, but she wasn't drowning, either. Something about the evening felt lighter, as if December had eased its grip on her heart. Then, suddenly, the doorbell rang. The sound cut through the quiet like a surprised heartbeat. Helena's chest tightened. She wasn't expecting anyone. She paused, cup midway to the table, listening for a second ring. It came, cheerful, bright, almost musical in the stillness. Her pulse quickened as she stood up. Visitors were rare these days. She walked toward the hallway, her slippers whispering over the wooden floor. The Christmas tree glowed behind her, casting warm reflections on the walls as she neared the front door. She hesitated with her hand on the doorknob, inhaling deeply. A wave of emotions stirred, anticipation, curiosity, and a slight tremble of fear. Who would come on a snowy December night? She brushed back a strand of hair, gathered her courage, and slowly opened the door. Cold winter air rushed in, along with the sparkle of holiday lights from her porch. A man in a thick coat stood there, smiling warmly, and in his arms, wrapped in a little red blanket, was a golden retriever puppy with a bright red Christmas bow. Helena gasped, her eyes widening with disbelief and tenderness. "Delivery for Helena Foster," the man said with a friendly grin. "Someone's finally ready to come home." Helena's heart fluttered, and for a moment she forgot how to breathe. The puppy blinked up at her, soft golden fur glowing under the Christmas lights, and everything inside her shifted. The porch was fully decorated for Christmas, twinkling lights along the railing, a garland dusted with faux snow, a glowing wreath on the door, and soft lanterns illuminating the steps. In that magical halo of holiday warmth, the puppy looked like a living Christmas miracle. Snowflakes landed on his tiny nose, making him sneeze softly, and Helena's heart cracked open. The deliverer explained gently that the breeders waited until the puppy finished weaning and completed all his vaccinations. "He's healthy, strong, and ready for his new family," he said, handing her a small folder with updated documents. Helena held the puppy carefully, feeling the warmth of his little body seep into her cold hands. The moment she touched him, something inside her stirred, something she thought had been buried under months of grief. The puppy looked up at her with trusting brown eyes, tail wagging lightly under the blanket. It was as if he recognized her, as if he had been waiting just for this moment. Her breath caught as tears filled her eyes, not from pain but from a tenderness she hadn't felt in so long. The Christmas lights reflected softly on the puppy's fur, making him glow like a tiny guardian of hope. For the first time since her husband's passing, her chest felt warm instead of aching. Helena realized she wasn't sad that he had arrived. She was grateful. She hadn't forgotten this decision, and now it was here, gently placed in her arms on a night shimmering with holiday magic. The timing felt almost divine, as if the universe had wrapped this puppy in a bow specifically for her healing. The deliverer wished her a Merry Christmas and stepped back into the snowy night. Helena closed the door slowly, holding the puppy close as she returned to the warm glow of her living room. The Christmas tree lights reflected in his dark eyes, and she felt an unexpected spark inside her. Not joy yet, but the possibility of it. Standing by the tree, she whispered softly, "Welcome home, little one." The puppy nuzzled her chin, settling into her arms as if he belonged there. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by Christmas light and gentle hope, Helena felt something she hadn't felt in a year, a beginning. Helena carried the puppy into the living room, feeling his tiny heartbeat against her chest. The Christmas tree glowed warmly, casting soft reflections across the room. The puppy lifted his head, sniffing the air with curiosity, tail wagging gently. He made a small yip that echoed in the quiet house, surprising her. It was the first sound of life there in months. She set him carefully on the rug, and he immediately began exploring in clumsy little circles. His paws slid slightly on the wooden floor, and he bumped into the couch leg before sitting down with a confused tilt of his head. Helena stared, half amused, half emotional, watching the tiny creature bring movement back into her space. The house didn't feel as heavy anymore. The puppy then padded toward the Christmas tree, mesmerized by the lights. He placed a paw on one ornament and pulled back quickly, startled when it jingled. Helena laughed softly, a sound she barely recognized coming from herself. It felt foreign, and yet familiar, like a part of her waking from a long sleep. She sat on the floor beside him, and the puppy climbed into her lap without hesitation. He curled into a warm golden ball, eyes fluttering closed. Helena rested a hand on his back, feeling his breath rise and fall. She hadn't realized how much she missed this, the feeling of connection, of being needed. Her husband had always wanted a dog. They used to talk about it during Christmas season, imagining a puppy knocking over ornaments and chewing gift ribbons. The memory hit her softly, not painfully this time. The puppy felt like a continuation of something they never had the chance to start together. She whispered, "You're going to change everything, aren't you?" The puppy shifted, pressing closer to her chest. The warmth spread through her arms, settling deep under her ribs. It wasn't joy yet, but it was something close, something alive, something new. Helena wrapped the blanket around both of them and leaned against the couch. The Christmas tree lights flickered gently, casting golden stars across the walls. For the first time in a year, she didn't feel alone in her own home. And as she closed her eyes, the puppy sleeping in her arms, she realized the house finally had sound again, the sound of life. The next morning, Helena woke to the soft sound of paws tapping against the floor. The puppy was sniffing around the living room, tail wagging as he explored holiday decorations with newfound confidence. She smiled automatically, but the smile faded into a pang of guilt. The warmth from last night felt too good, almost forbidden. She sat on the couch, rubbing her hands together as if trying to warm away the doubt rising inside her. "How can I be happy already?" she whispered, barely audible. The puppy trotted over to her and placed his tiny paws on her knees, looking up with trusting eyes. She swallowed hard, overwhelmed by the mix of emotions. A memory flashed, the hospital room, the final words, the promise she had made to keep living fully. She had broken that promise for months. Now, sitting in her Christmas-decorated living room with the puppy at her feet, she felt both hope and fear. Healing felt like betrayal, as if moving forward erased what came before. She picked up her phone and called her sister, needing reassurance she couldn't give herself. Her sister answered with a warm, "Merry Christmas season, Lena." Helena hesitated before confessing about the puppy's arrival. She expected judgment, maybe even confusion. Instead, her sister's voice softened with emotion. "Oh, Lena, he came at the perfect time," her sister said gently. "You're not replacing anything. You're honoring the love you had." Helena pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the truth vibrate through her. Tears gathered in her eyes, not from grief, but from the permission she desperately needed to hear. "You deserve joy, her sister added. Even if it comes in small, furry, golden pieces. Helena laughed through tears, wiping them quickly as the puppy climbed onto the couch beside her. He stretched out his tiny body and rested his chin on her thigh, as if agreeing. Helena stroked his soft fur, letting the guilt fade slowly. The Christmas lights twinkled warmly in the room, reflecting off his golden coat. Maybe healing wasn't betrayal. Maybe it was exactly what love wanted for her. The snow was fresh and powdery when Helena stepped outside with the puppy the next morning. The neighborhood glowed with Christmas decorations, twinkling lights, red bows on mailboxes, wreaths on every door. The puppy bounded forward enthusiastically, leaving tiny paw prints in the white blanket of snow. Helena followed slowly, breathing in the crisp winter air. For the first time in months, she noticed how beautiful the world looked. The garlands wrapped around streetlights, the gentle glow of warm lights inside distant windows, the faint sound of holiday music drifting from a neighbor's porch. The puppy tugged playfully at the leash, urging her to join him in the moment instead of standing still. He stopped near a Christmas display, a snowman with a red scarf and glowing lantern, and barked as if greeting a friend. Helena laughed, feeling the cold air fill her lungs in a way that felt cleansing. She crouched beside him, brushing snow from his fur while he licked her cheek, leaving a trail of warmth. Neighbors noticed the new addition to her life and offered warm smiles and holiday greetings. "What a Christmas gift," one woman exclaimed, waving from her porch. Helena blushed, unsure how to respond. She wasn't used to attention anymore, but the kindness didn't feel heavy, it felt welcoming. As they continued walking, Helena realized something. The world hadn't changed, but she had. She had stepped outside of her grief long enough to see beauty again. And the puppy, with his clumsy steps and boundless energy, seemed determined to pull her toward life, one snowy step at a time. She stopped at a small park covered in sparkling snow. The puppy rolled happily in it, flipping onto his back with pure joy. Helena watched him, feeling a smile stretch across her face, a real one, not forced, the kind that rose naturally from a heart warming back to life. When they headed home, the puppy trotted proudly beside her, tail wagging like a metronome of happiness. Helena felt lighter. The walk had shown her something she didn't expect. Christmas could still hold beauty, even after loss, and she didn't have to face it alone. Back home, Helena placed the puppy's new water bowl near the fireplace, where the Christmas stockings hung. One stocking still had her husband's name embroidered in silver thread. She paused, her breath catching, and waited for the familiar ache to take over. Instead, a softer feeling arrived, something closer to gratitude. She sat on the rug with the puppy curled against her side. Her eyes drifted to a framed holiday photo on the mantel, her and her husband laughing, wrapped in matching Christmas scarves. The memory didn't stab like before. It rested gently, warm and bittersweet, like an ornament held carefully in her hands. She whispered, "You would have loved him," glancing down at the puppy snoring softly. Her voice trembled, but she didn't fall apart. She remembered how her husband always talked about getting a dog after retirement. "A Christmas puppy," he used to say, joking about their shared love for the season. The puppy stirred and stretched, pressing closer. Helena stroked his head, feeling her heart expand painfully and beautifully at the same time. The love she once had didn't disappear. It had changed shape, softened, transformed into something she could carry instead of something that crushed her. She realized that moving forward didn't erase the past. Her husband's memory wasn't threatened by her healing. It was part of it. This puppy wasn't replacing him. He was helping her remember what it felt like to be alive, to hope, to love, without fear of breaking. Helena kissed the top of the puppy's head and felt tears slip down her cheeks, but they weren't sorrowful. They were the release of something locked away too long. Grief and love tangled together like strands of tinsel, both shimmering in the glow of the Christmas tree. She looked at the stockings again and whispered, "Thank you." Not to anyone in particular, but to the universe for bringing this small miracle to her doorstep. Her heart felt tender and open, a place where memory and healing could finally coexist. That evening, Helena plugged in the Christmas tree lights once more. The living room glowed softly, warm golds and gentle reds reflecting across the ornaments she had avoided earlier in the week. The puppy bounded toward the tree, sitting obediently when she whispered his name, still unnamed, but already part of her heart. She picked up a familiar ornament, the red globe, with their gold initials. Her fingers trembled, but not from fear. She placed it carefully on the tree. The world didn't crumble, her heart didn't shatter. Instead, A gentle warmth spread through her chest, blending memory with resilience. The puppy barked excitedly, nudging her elbow as if encouraging her to continue. So she reached for another ornament, then another, slowly filling the tree with pieces of her life, past and present intertwined like garlands. The tree began to glow in a way it hadn't all season. She stepped back to admire it, and tears welled in her eyes. The tree wasn't perfect. Some ornaments hung slightly crooked. A few branches were uneven. But it felt right, honest, tender, full of the same imperfect beauty her life now carried. The puppy lay at her feet, head resting on his paws, watching her with sleepy affection. The reflection of the lights danced in his eyes, creating the illusion of tiny stars. Helena felt something shift inside, a small but unmistakable spark of joy. The house no longer felt like a mausoleum of memories. It felt lived in again, breathing again. The Christmas lights shimmered in warm patterns across the walls, and for the first time since her husband's passing, Helena felt part of the world instead of drifting outside it. She sat beside the puppy and whispered, "Thank you for bringing the light back." He nuzzled her hand, tail thumping softly. And as she watched the Christmas tree glow, Helena realized something beautiful. Healing doesn't arrive all at once. Sometimes it arrives wrapped in fur, carried home under the soft glow of Christmas lights. Over the next few days, Helena noticed the subtle shift inside her home. The puppy followed her everywhere, from the kitchen to the hallway to the soft glow of the living room decorated for Christmas. His presence brought warmth to corners that had felt abandoned. Each morning, she woke to the sound of tiny paws tapping excitedly on the floor. Little moments began to feel special again, making hot cocoa, lighting a holiday candle, letting Christmas music play softly in the background. The puppy would tilt his head at the chimes of the carols, almost as if listening. Helena felt a tenderness blooming inside her, gentle, unhurried, but undeniably alive. One afternoon, she placed a soft red blanket under the Christmas tree, creating a cozy corner for him. To her surprise, he curled up there immediately, as if he knew the spot was meant for him. His small body looked like a golden ornament placed carefully among twinkling lights. It made her smile in a way that reached her eyes. When she stepped outside to check her mail, she found a holiday card from an old friend she hadn't heard from since her husband passed. The message inside was simple: "Thinking of you this Christmas. May light return in unexpected ways." She pressed the card to her chest, realizing how perfectly it described her life now. Inside, the puppy bounded toward her with pure joy, as if welcoming her home from a long journey rather than a short walk. She knelt to hug him, his fur warm and soft beneath her hands. Christmas lights reflected on the window, surrounding them both in a gentle glow that felt almost sacred. She whispered, "You really are a miracle, aren't you?" The puppy barked once, tail wagging enthusiastically, as if he agreed completely. Helena's heart swelled with a mixture of gratitude and wonder, two emotions she hadn't expected to feel again so soon. That night, as she watched the snow fall softly outside her window, Helena realized something beautiful. Christmas miracles weren't always grand gestures or dramatic moments. Sometimes they came quietly, in the form of a small golden life sleeping beneath a tree. By the end of the week, Helena felt a shift she couldn't deny. She caught herself humming while folding laundry, smiling at the puppy's clumsy attempts to chase holiday ribbons, and pausing to admire the soft glow of her Christmas lights. Joy wasn't crashing into her life. It was slipping in gently, step by step. One morning, the puppy discovered a loose ornament on the lower branches of the tree. He nudged it, chased it, and eventually carried it proudly to her feet. Helena burst into laughter, a bright, unrestrained sound she hadn't heard from herself in months. Her laughter startled her, then warmed her from the inside out. She picked up the ornament and held it up to the light, a small glass star. Her husband had bought it years ago, saying she was the star of their Christmases. The memory struck her softly. Instead of pain, she felt gratitude for the years they had shared, and for the new chapter unfolding now. She sat on the couch, the puppy curling beside her, his golden fur glowing under the tree lights. She ran her fingers through his coat, feeling peace settle over her. This wasn't forgetting. This wasn't replacing. This was healing. Slowly, gently, beautifully. She wrapped a tiny Christmas scarf around the puppy's neck, and he pranced proudly as if he understood he was part of something important. Helena grabbed her phone and took a photo, her first Christmas photo since losing her husband. Her hands trembled, but her smile was steady. When she looked at the picture, she felt a lump in her throat. not sadness, but recognition. It was as if she was looking at someone returning to life after a long winter. The puppy sat in front of the tree, glowing like a symbol of hope, and she realized she had captured a moment worth remembering. She placed the photo on the mantel beside her holiday cards, letting it stand as proof. Even after unbearable loss, joy can return. Sometimes all it needs is a little space and a beating heart to guide it back. For days, Helena had been trying to choose a name for the puppy, but nothing felt right. She wanted something meaningful, something that honored the past and celebrated the future. She watched him trot through the house decorated for Christmas, sprinkling joy wherever he went. He deserved a name filled with warmth. She sat by the fireplace, holiday stockings hanging above her, and opened her old photo albums. One picture caught her eye, her husband placing the star on top of the Christmas tree during their first holiday together. The memory glowed inside her like a soft candle flame. The word whispered in her heart, "Star." She looked down at the puppy curled at her feet, his fur shimmering under the lights. "Star," she said quietly. The puppy lifted his head, ears perked, as if recognizing the name. Helena smiled through tears, not of sorrow, but of connection. It felt right, perfect. "Your name is Star," she repeated, reaching to stroke his head. The puppy barked happily and jumped into her lap, tail wagging rapidly. She laughed, feeling the name settle into the air like a blessing, simple, luminous, filled with meaning. Naming him felt like a symbolic shift, a bridge between her old life and her new one. Her husband had been the one who always said she brought light into every Christmas. Now, the puppy carried that light forward in a new form. Star wasn't a replacement, he was an extension of a love that had never died. She whispered softly, "You're my little Christmas star," and Star nudged her cheek with his nose, as if accepting the honor. Helena hugged him, feeling her heart expand with something she thought she'd lost forever, hope. As she placed Star's first Christmas tag on his collar, the tree lights twinkled above them. It was a small ceremony, quiet, intimate, perfect. And in that moment, Helena felt like she had given herself permission to step fully into life again. On Christmas Eve morning, Helena prepared the living room for something she hadn't done since her husband passed. A Christmas photo. She arranged the pillows, fluffed the blankets, and straightened each ornament on the tree. Star watched curiously, tilting his head as she worked with gentle determination. She placed a soft white blanket at the foot of the tree and sat down cross-legged, inviting Star to join her. He pranced over and settled in her lap, golden fur glowing under the Christmas lights. She set the timer on her phone, feeling nervous and excited at the same time, emotions she hadn't felt together in years. As the countdown began, Helena took a deep breath. She didn't hide her grief. She didn't pretend her life was perfect. She simply let herself be present in a home filled with Christmas warmth, holding a small life that had reignited her spirit. Star licked her chin just as the camera clicked, capturing a moment of pure tenderness. She checked the photo. It wasn't flawless. Her hair was slightly tousled. Star's paw covered part of her sweater. The lights behind them glowed unevenly, but the emotion in the picture was undeniable. She looked alive, soft, open, healing. It was the most honest Christmas photo she had ever taken. She printed it later that afternoon and placed it inside a holiday frame with tiny golden stars around the border. The frame fit perfectly on the mantel beside her wedding picture, past and present standing together in harmony. She didn't feel guilt this time, only love. She whispered to the room, "He would have loved this," imagining her husband laughing at Star's playful energy. Instead of breaking her, the thought warmed her from the inside, weaving memory and hope into a single thread of peace. That night, she lit a candle beneath the photo and watched the flame flicker beside the Christmas lights. It felt like a blessing, a quiet acknowledgement that she was stepping into a new chapter while carrying her past with grace. On Christmas morning, Helena woke to Star pawing gently at her arm, eager to start the day. She opened the curtains, revealing a world covered in fresh snow, sparkling like a winter postcard. The Christmas lights on her porch twinkled brightly, reflecting in the frosted windows and painting the room in warm golden tones. She carried Star to the living room, where the tree glowed softly. The scent of pine and cinnamon drifted through the air, mingling with the soft crackle of the fireplace. Star curled at her feet, content and peaceful. Helena felt a warmth she hadn't known since before her loss, a warmth that came not from forgetting, but from allowing life back in. She sat beside the tree and placed her hand gently over her heart. Instead of emptiness, she felt fullness, layers of love, memory, grief, and renewal, all woven together. This was the Christmas she never expected. The one she didn't think she deserved. The one she was finally ready to receive. Star climbed into her lap, licking her cheek before settling in with a happy sigh. Helena wrapped her arms around him and let tears fall freely, but they weren't painful. They were cleansing, softening, opening her to the world again. He had brought her back to herself, little by little, without asking for anything in return. She whispered, "You saved my Christmas," and Star's tail thumped in response. Outside, snowflakes drifted gently across holiday decorations, making the world sparkle. Inside, Helena felt reborn, not in a dramatic, sudden way, but in the steady warmth of being held by life again. She stood and placed Star's first Christmas ornament on the tree, a tiny golden paw with his name engraved. It glowed beautifully among the lights, symbolizing the beginning of a new era. She smiled, knowing this would be the first of many Christmas mornings they would share. As she watched the lights shimmer around her, Helena understood something profound. Sometimes the greatest gifts arrive quietly, on snowy December nights, wrapped not in paper but in hope. And this year, the universe had given her exactly what she didn't know she needed: a reason to live again.